The Clocktower Promise. In the cobblestoned city of Eldenwick, where gas lamps flickered like forgotten stars, lived Amara Voss, a 29-year-old horologist with ink-stained fingers and a heart wound too tight to tick. She repaired clocks in her tiny shop, her days a symphony of gears and springs, but she hadn't felt time move for herself since her mother's death 5 years ago. Her gift was precision, her weakness isolation. She feared connection, terrified that loving someone meant losing them. Her motivation was simple, yet desperate: to keep the world's moments alive, even if hers stood still. Across the city, Theo Langston roamed the streets, a 33-year-old poet, with a voice like velvet and eyes shadowed by sleepless nights. He'd once been celebrated, his words gracing books and stages, until a scandal false accusations of plagiarism stripped him of his reputation. Now he scribbled verses on napkins in dim taverns, his fear not the silence of his pen, but the silence of being unheard. His drive was to reclaim his voice, to write something so true it couldn't be doubted. Their story began on a frost-bitten November dusk at the old clock tower, a crumbling relic overlooking Eldenwick. Amara climbed its spiral stairs weekly to wind its ancient mechanism, a ritual she'd inherited from her mother. That evening, Theo was there too, leaning against the railing, muttering lines to the wind. As the tower's bell tolled 7, their gazes locked, her hazel eyes sharp with curiosity, his brown ones soft with wonder. "Does it ever stop?" he asked, nodding at the clock. "Not if I can help it," she replied, and the air between them hummed. They started meeting there, drawn by an unspoken pull. She'd bring her tools, he'd bring his notebook, and they'd share the tower's quiet. One night, he read her a poem. Her hands mend time, her silence sings. A clockwork heart with fragile wings. Her breath caught, her chest tightening as his words brushed against her walls. She handed him a tiny brass key she'd crafted, etched with a star. "It doesn't open anything," she said, blushing. "Yet it feels like it could." He grinned, slipping it into his pocket, and their fingers lingered too long when they parted. Their romance bloomed in stolen moments. She'd leave him riddles in clock parts gears arranged to spell, "Meet me at dusk." He'd tuck poems into her toolbox, lines like, "Your heartbeat sets my meter free." Their special place was the tower's top, where they'd watch the city glow below, the stars their only witnesses. For Amara, his presence was a thaw. For Theo, her trust was a muse. They made a promise one starry night, her voice trembling. "If we ever lose each other, we'll meet here when the clock strikes 7. He kissed her forehead, sealing it. But secrets have sharp edges. One morning, Amara found a letter shoved under her shop door, unsigned, in elegant script. "Ask him about Livia." Her stomach churned. When she confronted Theo, his face crumpled. Livia was his sister, he confessed, a brilliant writer who'd died young, whose unfinished work he'd published under his name to honor her. The scandal wasn't theft, but grief twisted into a lie. "I should have told you," he said, voice raw. "But I was afraid you'd see me as a fraud." Hurt flared in Amara. How could he hide this? And she stormed out, the tower's echo swallowing her footsteps. Days passed in silence. She buried herself in her clocks, he in his poems, both aching. Then came the twist. A fire swept through Eldenwick, sparked by a fallen lantern, and the clock tower burned. Amara watched from her shop, horror seizing her as the structure collapsed. Theo, where was he? She raced through the smoke, her fear of loss roaring louder than ever, and found him staggering from the ruins, coughing, clutching his notebook. He'd gone to save the brass key, still in his pocket when the fire started. "I couldn't lose it," he rasped, falling to his knees. "It's all I had left of us." Tears streaked her soot-stained face as she pulled him close, the heat of the flames warming their embrace. Idiot, she whispered. You're what I can't lose. Their kiss was desperate, tasting of ash and forgiveness, the city's chaos fading around them. They rebuilt their love stronger, like a clock retooled after a break. The tower was gone, but its promise lived every evening at 7. They'd meet by the river, her fixing pocket watches, him reciting poetry. The brass key became his talisman, a symbol of her faith in his truth. And years later, when their daughter asked how they fell in love, they'd say it started with a clock that never stopped and a poem that refused to end.